Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another FIFA Throwback Thursday on the channel. And today we're going to be taking a look at FIFA 17, and we're going to see what kind of players we got in the club. Obviously, this is mainly going to be a club tour-esque type of video. There's no like real type of interesting content, I guess, because a lot of YouTubers will do a throwback with their content, but they got their own formulas and stuff. But for us, it's always been a kind of what's going on in the day type of thing with our road to glory. So we're gonna do, I guess, that kind of thing today with the club tour. We're gonna take a look at the team of the week, and we're gonna see a bit of the changes between this FIFA and the last FIFA. And I think one of the major changes for I guess team of the week was that you can I'm pretty sure that this year and last year you can still challenge it, but I think the only major difference might have been the changes in dynamic image, because EA were still figuring that out, how to make the images stand out but also not take up too much space. And of that team of the week, by the way, if you noticed, Kevin De Bruyne again was in the last team of the week for FIFA 2 years in a row. So he always had a flying start into the new season, because team of the week would always come back, and that would result in that Messi being 97, because he obviously had previous team of the weeks from the season before. And one of the major changes that happened in FIFA was the introduction of the squad builder challenges, and a lot of people were very excited, a bit confused, because in previous FIFAs you wouldn't necessarily keep a lot of the players. Some of the players you would just end up selling just to start collecting coins, and then use those coins to get new improvements on the squad, because before it was all about just grinding coins as much as possible. But now when you open packs and you get duplicates and all that stuff, you can start to put into the SBCs, which was not something that we had last year. Last year all we had was the draft that was introduced, and now we have the draft and the SBCs. And the SBCs weren't the only thing that got introduced in this FIFA. The other thing that got introduced in this FIFA was actually FUT Champs. And FUT Champs back then was 2 days with 40 games total. And what was crazy, if you find any old videos from content creators that did FUT Champs in FIFA 17, you'll see that some of them even did 2 accounts. So they would do, for example, they would do their 40 games on Xbox one day, and then they would do their 40 games on PlayStation the other day, and they would just have rewards on both consoles. And it was crazy because back then 40 games in a day was a lot of work. You had to get a lot of rage quits to make it happen. It was not easy, and the game was a lot more attacking minded. I would say it was very easy to go get inside the box and score a goal than it is today, where you have to maneuver around a lot of obstacles, and tactics weren't really that important. Obviously they did have some form of influence on your players and how they reacted to a lot of things, but FIFA 17, it was just one of those games where it was very good, attack minded, and it was a lot of fun seeing all those content creators show off their reds, because it would be like you would get top 10 or something, and you would get like 40 players. This was when rewards gave you an icon and all those other players right behind it. So it was very interesting, intriguing. It was fun to watch, and obviously times change. Back then the reward system was only rewarding to you if you played the full month. If you played like 1 week, you would most likely not get any good reds. You probably might get very poor reds, or nothing at all, depending on how many wins were required for a certain rank over the course of the month. Because obviously, every week you could get 40-0, which was huge, and sometimes it felt impossible because the game could flip on you like a dime. But for the most part, if you were very good, then you got the win majority of the time, if I remember correctly. But however, like I said, if you play like 1 week and miss out on 3, then it's kind of a bummer, because then you don't get a chance at most of the good rewards. But if you play all 4 weeks, you have a higher chance of getting that red Messi, that red Ronaldo, that red De Bruyne, etc. And especially during team of the season rewards were super crazy, because it was like 4 team of the weeks all crammed together into like 1 or 2 packs depending on your rank. And that to get team of the season reds in packs like that was crazy. So it was very fun, entertaining. If you can find some old footage, I would recommend to go check some of them out, especially with the whole pack animation. Back in FIFA 17, a lot of people figured out that the way you knew you had a walkout was when you opened the pack, and there was a very, very noticeable pause between the animation starting and when you open the pack. Because if it was very quick, then people knew that there wasn't going to be anything. Because back then FIFA worked a lot differently. They couldn't really hide, I guess, whether you had something good or not in a pack. And here, this is my team for the end of the game. You see that Hunter right there. This was the first year we actually got the journey, which was both a good and bad thing. The journey wasn't that great in terms of like storytelling and whatnot, but it kind of paved the road a little bit to what people want from career mode, because career mode has been the same thing for years and years, and nothing really changes except for like kit updates and whatnot. But people want to immerse themselves into career mode, because it's about them. It's about them being a player or them being a manager. They want to feel like they are that manager, like they are that guy. And the journey was about as close as we get, but obviously it wasn't about us. It was about Alex Hunter and the story they were trying to tell, which most people just breeze through it just to get that I think it was like a loan icon or an icon or something in one of the chapters. It might be in the next game. But I guess the bummer about it was you couldn't really turn that Alex Hunter in as an inform. He was just stuck in your club forever. And there was no real other purpose. He was too bad to use in a meta like this. But yeah, that was a journey for the first time. A lot of people were excited for the journey. It looked like people would be super invested into it, but it didn't really catch on too much. They did it for 3 FIFAs and then they stopped. I don't know why they did it for 3 FIFAs. Maybe they wanted a trilogy just to have that, but it definitely was not going to work out. But yeah, and then going back to the club, that end of an era David Luiz or premium SBC or whatever, that SBC was actually released twice. The first time it was super expensive. A couple of people actually did it, but it was super duper expensive. It was unobtainable. And then when he came back around during Fuddies, you know, he got re-released, and a lot of people were able to do him for a lot more cheaper. And the same thing goes with that Eden Hazard, and I think the Heung-min Son also was re-released and very cheap because they were just the most completed SBCs around that time. You know, EA like to re-release what was November's favorite SBC, what was December's favorite SBC, and they'll re-release them. And you know, I'm glad they did that because they were much cheaper back then. I was able to do them, and you know, now they're in my club forever, and I'd rather have them there than, you know, as a memory in somebody else's account. You know, this is ours. This is what we did. And that's Cyprian team of the season. As much as it only has like one game, I think, 1 or 2 games. His gold card was one of my favorites to use. And obviously, we don't have to talk about Eric Bailly, Chris Smalling, and Jack Butland. Those guys were a trio like we'd never seen before in terms of like gold rare meta, I guess. Because in previous FIFAs, gold rares were about as good as you can get until team of the season or a good team of the week. But these guys were just like on another level. And the Alonso, I don't have much to say about the Alonso except for he had pace back then. Kante was an 81 and I have the 83. So he had a small upgrade, and obviously this was the year he got his Player of the Year award, which they only released once, and I'm kind of sad because it was really expensive and I couldn't get it. I just couldn't afford it. So, you know, it only came out once and never came out again. And I was kind of hoping it did, but, you know, it never really came. And then for Dembele, he was really good. I wanted his once to watch before the game was over, but I just couldn't afford it, and I didn't bother because, you know, by the time I started doing FUT Champs, I never really could qualify. I only got like past round 1, and it was pretty much over. And I couldn't do anything else, especially with this team and the other team that you saw, the one with I think his name is Ramos, the striker from Granada. That was my secondary team, and I would essentially play one game of FUT Champs, DKT, and then I would play one match of Rivals just to get the fitness back up, and then do it again. But I was never really good back then. I would only play one round and pretty much get kicked, and there was nothing else I could do. So, you know, those were my learning days, and you could see from the record and from the different menus that back in the previous FIFA, for FIFA 16, you know, it was I think I had 70 wins and something like that, so like barely even 200 games. And this time around, I had like 309 wins on this account, or on this FIFA. So, you know, I played a lot more this time around, but it was a new experience because I was learning a lot of things. I was learning about the market. You know, it was one of my aspects that I wanted to improve on, because a lot of people were making coins that I had no idea what to do besides play the game, and playing the game wasn't enough because back then I wasn't good enough. But, you know, we learned some things to carry on to the next game. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video for the next Throwback Thursday. Peace.